Welcome to class 2 of o seu clique no inglês. Yes, here we go, guys. Here we go again. So, how are you feeling now? Right? It's your second contact with the present perfect. Yes? First class, we talked about the many situations, the 4 situations that you use the present perfect, this very interesting verb tense, very important verb tense for you to understand and consequently for you to express yourself, speak your English better, more fluently, with more confidence, right? So I consider the present perfect a turning point, a very important element for you to finally start understanding, start being part of this universe called the English language, right? So, what are we going to see this class? I'm going to go back to those 4 situations that we saw, but from a different perspective, right? In the first class, we focused on the translation and the presentation of the 4 situations in which you use the present perfect. Now we're going to focus a little bit on these very important words because the key words, as they are called, they are the ones that are going to help you at first, right? When we don't know exactly how to use it, those words are going to be important for you to identify the situations, right? So the first situation that we saw, right, was experiences, things that happened in your life from this moment to the past until the moment that you were born. So have you ever been to the US? Have you ever been to the States? The word ever, right? The have you ever, você já esteve nos Estados Unidos? This ever, right? The position of this ever is here, right? You have the principal verb, the main verb that we saw last class in the formula, yes, how to build the present perfect. This is a question, so you inverted the auxiliary and the subject, okay? Have you ever been to the States? This been is the principal verb, the main verb. So the position of this ever, this já in your life, okay, is here before the principal verb. Yes? Okay. And it's a good indication of present perfect. Yes, you see ever, you automatically think, oops, present perfect. I think it is. Let's confirm. Okay? Is it about an experience? Is it about something that happened in the past, but it's not important when? Yes? Is it about all your life? If it is, then chances are it's the present perfect, right? I have already done that. Eu já fiz aquilo. Okay, already, já, já. You see, the same word in Portuguese, já, já, different words in English, right? Eu já fiz isso, but what is the position of already? Before the principal verb to, like ever, but they have different ideas, okay? Have you ever, right, is a question. Yes? Have you ever? I'm asking you. Você já? Okay? Have you ever? I use it in a question. And already, is it a question? No. I have already done that is affirmative. Okay? The position is before the verb, the principal verb, the main verb. Again, like ever. And never. Again, right? Before the principal verb, they have never, auxiliary verb, principal verb, never is here, before the principal verb. They have never stayed at that hotel. But look, never is a negative word, okay? So it's they haven't, the negative, they haven't ever, like this. The negative, have not, haven't, ever. They haven't ever stayed at that hotel is similar to they have never stayed at that hotel. But if you use never, you're not going to use haven't because the negativity is expressed here. You don't need to express the negativity again in the auxiliary verb. Only if you use haven't. They haven't ever stayed at that hotel. And the translation is the same. Eles nunca estiveram, nunca se hospedaram nesse hotel. Okay? All right. Let's go. Repeated actions, right? I have been to the States many times. Estive nos Estados Unidos muitas vezes. She has published 8 books. Ela já publicou 8 livros. We have visited that museum 4 times. Nós já visitamos o museu, aquele museu 4 vezes. Many times, 4 times, 8 books. These usually show up at the end of the sentence, right? Because they are longer expressions of time, right? They're longer adverbs of frequency. And then it's not time, it's frequency, right? They show up at the end of the sentence because they are longer, okay? Not here, like ever or already, but at the end of the sentence. And these are the famous timelines. Timelines were very important for me in my learning process, right? Because they give us a visual contact with these ideas that we express using the present perfect. Look, this is the timeline that corresponds to ever, already, right? Because it includes the present and goes to all your life. It's not important when, we don't know when, but it includes all your past, right? With no definition of when. And this is the one that refers to repeated action in the past, right? These are the 4 times that I have done something, but it's not important for me to say when. If you really want to know, then you ask me. If you ask me, and if I think it's important to tell you, I will. If I think it's not important, I still can not tell you, okay? I can avoid the answer. I can say something. I can justify my not wanting to tell you about the exact moment that these 4 actions happened in my life. Okay? So it's a safer way to see life because you don't reveal all the information connected to it. And if the person wants to find out about that and they ask you, if the person asks you, then you can review, okay? But it's not so open as we letting people do. Let's go to the next situation. Recent actions or states, right? Recently and lately, their positions in the sentence. Look, at the end. Yes, at the end. And just where? Like ever, like already, before the principal verb, before the main verb. Okay? Recently and lately at the end, and just before the principal verb. And the last situation, action or state that started in the past and continues until now, since 1970 at the end, right? And for 5 years at the end too, right? They are not before the principal verb, they are at the end of the sentence. The timelines that correspond to recently, right? You have now and this action that happened recently, near, but we don't know exactly when, because recently for me is different from recently for you. And you still need to ask, because recently is not specific, right? And this is for 50 years I live in Brasilia, and this is I moved to Brasilia 50 years ago, right? I have lived in Brasilia since 1970. This is the moment the action started, since this, right? And for the period of time, okay? Now, to make the difference between the simple past and the present perfect in terms of keywords, the simple past is connected to, for 4 years, disconnected from the present. What else? Yesterday is simple past. Last year is simple past. In 1993, like we have here, is simple past. Not since, in 1993 is a point in the past, right? Like yesterday, last week, last year. For present perfect. Por 50 anos. For 50 years, right? Very, very important to make this difference, and the keywords, the timelines, right? Present perfect, no definition of time in the past, and simple past, yes, definition of time in the past. Yesterday, last week, 2 years ago, okay? Yesterday, last week, 2 years ago, definition of time, it's a point in the past, and we know it's a point in the past, okay? We're gonna stop here. This lesson, the second lesson, was a little shorter than the first one because in the first one we introduced the new verb tense, present perfect. We showed you the formulas, how to build the affirmative, the negative, and the interrogative. And in this second class, we focused more on the timelines and the keywords that are important for you to start understanding it. Having the timelines and the keywords in your possession, now you need to practice, right? There are quizzes there are exercises in the grammar book that you chose, or in the grammar application that you chose, that you have chosen, right? So hit the books. It's time for you to practice and put your knowledge to the test, right? To make it sink in. The important is that you practice, right? Because practice leads to perfection. In this case, perfection is not the goal, not the objective, but practice leads to your click, right? Your understanding better, your speaking more confidently, and eventually speaking English fluently. Okay? See you soon. See you next class. Hasta la vista.